Hello everybody, and welcome to Regression in SPSS. So the first thing you're going to want to do, as always, open up your data set, make sure everything is good, and then we are ready. So some of you might not have got to regression yet. That's okay. I'm going to give you a real quick overview of what it is, because conceptually it's fairly straightforward. Really what regression does is it is a way to predict one variable using information from another variable. Meaning, we could try to predict someone's happiness by how religious they are. So, you're simply taking one or more variables and predicting one variable in our case. Now, in other types of regression, you can predict different types of outcomes, but really what we will be doing right here is only using continuous variables. Continuous variables will be our outcome, continuous variables will be our predictors. Also, in regression, you'll often hear this as X variables predicting Y variables. Sometimes you'll even hear it as independent variables predicting dependent variables. But the terms that we are going to be using are going to be predictors and outcomes. All right, so in SPSS, we are going to be doing this by going to Analyze and Regression and Linear Regression. When you get that, you have this box pop up, and this uses the dependent-independent variable terminology. So our independent variables here are our predictors, things that are going to be predicting the dependent variable. So if we wanted to predict happiness, that means happiness would be our outcome or our dependent variable. And if we wanted to predict how happy we are by how religious you are, religiousness would be our independent variable or our predictor. Now, in SPSS, for what we're doing right now, we can just honestly hit OK. And it will pop up in our outcome. And now I'm actually going to refer to the PDF now because it has things in a little bit easier to see way. So in SPSS, you're going to get these 4 tables. We are really primarily interested in the second, third, and fourth ones. The model summary, the second one, basically tells you how good your model is. How well does this fit your data? If you are predicting happiness from religion, how well does it do that? Now, both the R and R squared can tell you how much variance is explained. Adjusted R square, we don't really need to worry about too much. Standard error of the estimate, I talk about that here. You're not going to need to know that for our class, but this gives you a little bit better understanding of what it is if you do want to reference it later. The ANOVA tells you the F ratio in SPSS. You're actually going to see when we get to ANOVA that ANOVA uses F. That's what you get. Your statistic is an F. Well, that's kind of how SPSS uses regression. There's a lot more overlap than you would expect. But for most of us right now, we don't need to worry about that. And then the last one is really what we are practically speaking most concerned about. This tells us if our predictor, in this case religion, would be a significant predictor of our outcome. So if we are predicting happiness from religion, in this case, it is significant, again because the p-value is less than 0.05. Now, in regression, you can get a regression equation. We're trying to build a model that allows us to predict our outcome. So I show you how we can do this here. We go by the regression equation that our predicted value of y is equal to the constant plus this value times x1. So in this case, it would be our predicted value of y is equal to 3.4, that is this value, plus 1.94 times whatever your religion score is. In this way, we could predict anybody's happiness based on their religion score in the context of our data, meaning when religion is a 1 to 5 score using the scale we have used. So theoretically, if we wanted to predict what someone's happiness is, we would use this religion score, or could use this religion score, to get a decent prediction. So you'll understand this a little bit more when you read or when you listen to the regression lecture and we get into the kind of math behind this. But really, the way we get this information is using correlation, and then it's means. Honestly, that's the primary thing we're doing. Instead of just saying that we could guess our y value based on the mean of x, that was our most basic model. Well, now this is kind of like the mean of one value plus additional information provided by another variable. We will skip that for now. You can also add in multiple predictors. So if we wanted to come back to SPSS to analyze regression linear, we can add in how much you like the university. Hit OK, and up will come our new model. And what this tells us, we can compare R squared and see how much variance is accounted for. We can look at this if we like, but really, again, what we are concerned with, what you are going to be primarily concerned with, are the coefficients. So we can now see here that both religion and how much you like the university are significant predictors of happiness. This shouldn't surprise any college student, right? That how much you like the university is, and then for if you're like me as a psychologist of religion and psychologist of religion and spirituality, this one is not particularly surprising either. But you can add basically any number of variables you would like. And if you move on to inferential statistics, you'll be able to see that we can add in even categorical predictors. And regression is one of the, if not the most popular ways to make predictions, to build models. So if you were paying attention to 538, the website during the election, if you are a baseball fan and you know of the various prediction algorithms, this is largely based on regression and doing this kind of thing, adding in variables and seeing if they make a difference in your model. So what do we need to be able to do now? Everything from previous PowerPoints. We want you to be able to run a regression and interpret the output. I'm not going to need you to write up a APA style statement here. Really, it's interpreting what the outcome is.